Still snowing a little bit. Hey cats, what's happening? We still got tons of snow. I mean, it's probably double what, or was double what it is now, but over time it kind of melts down. But I'm gonna have to get the snow blower out today and just clean things up a little bit. But first, I'm gonna need some more firewood. Homework never ends. I'm gonna call this one The Other Side of Biker Life, because ain't nothing about biking. Today, I'm gonna run the saw a little bit. Before I do that though, I got some tune-up to do on it here a little bit. I don't know if I'd call it tune-up per se, but I'm gonna clean it up just a little bit and sharpen it, tighten up the chain a little bit. So let's see, I've got my file here, my chainsaw tool. And let's get started on this thing. We got a lot to do today. And then it's Friday. Well, tonight we always call date night. And I like to go out with my wife and enjoy life, you know, find some decent place to get something to eat, or, you know, even if we have to order something out if she doesn't feel like going out. But yeah, it's date night, so I got to get this stuff done, or at least get a good chomp on it. Maybe I can finish up tomorrow if I have to. So let's get started on the saw. I'm going to take this cover off and clean it out because it's a mess in there, I'm sure. I've been using it, and this gets loaded up. So you take that off, see all the junk in there? So we're going to clean that out. This big clump right here of frozen crap. Yeah, none of that's good for the chain spinning around. So and also it'll block the oil ports too, and you want your bar to be oiled when you're running it, and the oil has to come through these ports here to oil the chain. So I'm just going to kind of scrape this stuff out here a little bit. It's probably, most of it's like frozen in there because it's wet. Yeah. Probably the easiest way to do this is to take it outside and with the air compressor and blow it out. You know, that's something you can do too, but the air compressor really groans in this cold weather. So I'm just going to scrape this stuff out of here real quick today. There we go. Yeah, it's coming out of there in frozen chunks. I'm going to take this bar off of here, clean it out a little bit too. Take the chain off. Make sure this area here is all clean. These oil ports got stuff in them, so they got to be cleaned out. Take a little screwdriver and make sure those are open. And then the tool, if you'll see the tip of the screwdriver thing on there, how thin it is, it actually fits in the groove there, so you can run it through there and make sure there's nothing in the race. Clean that race out. Then you'll see there's little teeth on the end there. You just got to make sure that spins freely and isn't plugged up. Some saws have a little grease port on there where you can squirt some grease in there. This one doesn't have that, so. But the bar looks pretty good. I like to sight down the bar and look for any dips in the bar or anything. It shows that it's wearing hard. You should have a nice curvature to the blade there without any dip. So that bar looks like it's in pretty good shape. Now that I got it cleaned up, I'm just going to kind of reassemble it Put the chain back on, make sure you're putting the chain in the right direction. If you're confused about the direction of the chain, you can see the cutting tips are going to go this way. And actually there's a little diagram right there that kind of shows where your chain should go. So we get the chain back in the we put the bar back on, and there's a little tensioner pin right there. We've got to make sure that is in the right slot and that that's seated firmly up against there before we replace this plate. And we're just going to tighten that. Tighten those back up. We're not going to tighten them, we're just going to snug them for now. Okay, I just got those finger tight. And then right here is the chain. Right here there's a little hole. You could stick the screwdriver in there and you're going to tighten up the chain. Now, you'll see the chain has some slack in it, and it should not have that much slack in it. It should be a little more snug. So I'm going to lift up on the bar as I'm tightening this. And I'm not going to tighten it, I'm just going to get it to where it's about like that. I can lift it up, but it doesn't come completely out of the track, and that's good enough. And then I can tighten this back up again. I want to make sure that's good and tight so those bolts don't vibrate loose. Now when I go to sharpen the saw, I stick the bar in my vise, make sure that the chain isn't going to hit on the bottom of the vise there, and then I'm going to tighten that down where that thing is not going to move. Pretty solid there. And now I'm ready to sharpen. When I'm cutting with this saw, I want the blades to look, you know, like this. They kind of come up to a nice chisel point, and that's what you want. A nice chisel point on that. You want this to be a nice sharp tip there, and then you see I got like about a 30-degree angle cut on there. So that's what I'm going for. But as I go through this chain, I inspect each one of the blades, and you know, some of them don't quite have that chisel point on there because I hit something with them. Now that's not good. I mean, this one is in pretty bad. It doesn't have that tip coming out on it anymore because I hit something. When you're cutting wood, you know, out here in the country, these trees could have nails in them. They could have old fence wire in them. Even if there's like a squirrel or nest in there or something, you know, and that squirrel stuff gets frozen solid, it's like cutting through dirt, so that'll dull your chain. The other thing I tell people about that run their chainsaw is you don't ever want the tip of your saw to touch the ground. All you got to do is touch the ground on your blade a little bit there, and it's going to dull it instantly. So you want to keep it out of the dirt. You drop a tree on the ground, just be real careful. If you have to, you can prop it up a little bit off the ground. But there's a lot of techniques to cutting. But the first thing I always tell somebody is keep your saw out of the dirt. It'll save you a lot of effort in the long run. I wear an old pair of gloves when I do this because I like to hold the file. I don't use a guide or anything. This actually has a 30-degree angle on it right there. So I'm going to use that, and I've been doing this for so many years, I know exactly how to hold it. I pull a little tension on it this way, and I kind of have to like lift up too. You don't ever want to push down on your file and cut into the chain itself. You're just sharpening the blade. So if I take 4 strokes on that one, I'm going to move up skip the one that's going the opposite way. I'm just going to work on the left-hand side blades. And I'm going to take 4 strokes on each blade. Now, one of the things that you can do is mark the blade you start on with some chalk or crayon or something, and that way you'll know when you get to the end. It could be helpful. And now that I've filed the left side, I need to do the right hand side too. So I flip the saw around and I'll put it back in the vise. Make sure I don't pinch the blades. Make sure they turn. I'm going to tighten that up so the saw is nice and snug in there. I'm going to do 4 strokes on this side. Now, if your saw is real dull, you're going to have to do more than 4 strokes. I'm just saying I'm doing 4 strokes today. And that just assures that each blade around the whole chain has been sharpened exactly the same amount. You'll see here, I've been, this is a pretty good file. You can see my filings there from working on the chain, so I know it's cutting pretty good. It's a brand new file. I like to keep, you know, when the file gets dull, it doesn't work so good. So these aren't that expensive. Just buy a new file. Keep your saw sharp. Now, I sharpen this thing regularly. Nothing like cutting with a sharp saw. It makes a huge difference. If your saw gets dull, you know, if you nick it on the left or the right side, your saw is going to cut curved into a log. And that's just putting wear and tear on your bar, on your chain, and your motor. It's not a good thing. So pays to keep the saw sharp. And if you're doing a lot of cutting, you're cutting all day, you may want to stop a couple times to just dress it up, maybe take 1 or 2 strokes on each blade. It only takes a few minutes, and that makes a big difference. The tree I'm going to cut today is this leaner here, and I'm going to cut that up into firewood, and that's where it broke off from. I'm going to cut that thing down too. I can get some logs out of it. So but I got some deep snow all the way through here, and I want to get my truck back in here so I can split and load this. So I think I'm going to get the snow blower and clear out a spot here first, so that it'll make it an easier workspace for me. We got the truck back here, pretty close to the tree too, so I'm going to start cutting. Well, another job mostly done. The tree that I cut, the stub that I cut there, it's pretty rotten. Had a lot of ants in it. You see the ant, there's black ants in there. I don't really want that up by the house. So I'll leave most of that there, because that's full of ants. But I got, you know, a pretty decent amount of wood on the truck, so that'll last me a while. And the leaner is gone. It came down on the ground, and it'll make some good firewood to heat the house. Well, I gotta go in and get cleaned up a little bit because it's date night. My wife's probably in there all prettied up waiting for me. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel. Until next time, cats, we'll catch you all later.